This week's United Soccer Coaches Top 25 are out. Michigan State shocks number 3 Indiana. Christian Pulisic scores once again, and Buffalo's winningest head coach, Shawn Burke, joins us live on Inside the Game.
Welcome to Inside the Game on the National Soccer Network. Now, here are your hosts, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wangler.
Good morning. It is Wednesday, September the 24th. It is episode number 165 here of Inside the Game. That's Nate Wangler. I'm Jonathan Turner, our producer, Ryan Glinsky. We're excited to have you here on this Wednesday, and we have a great show lined up for you here today. We got a great guest, Shawn Burke from women's program at Buffalo, will join us here in a couple of minutes. A lot of things happening around the game of soccer. We'll have the top 25 women's and men's rankings here according to the United Soccer Coaches Association. That'll come up here a little bit later in the show. Christian Pulisic is off to an unbelievable start, right, in Serie A. And, Ryan and I were just talking here during the countdown about the importance, the importance of this. We'll talk about that. I have my opinions about how important it is that
Let's just
Christian
say, Nate,
Pulisic
he used a horrible comparison. That's all I got to say.
Well, I'm not planning on using that comparison on the show.
Shocked.
I'm just saying during that.
Color me shocked.
I'm
shocked.
Oh,
I said I'm shocked.
Should we show the new producer with guests setup?
yeah, sure. Why not?
Look at that. Look at that.
Hey,
Yeah,
look at you down in the corner over there.
Attaboy,
Hey.
John. Attaboy.
That's right. That's right.
We got two and a half
important-
co-hosts.
It's important to show that graph because coming up here on October the 3rd at 8 p.m., we will do the NISA Cup, the Pro Cup drawing right here in our studios. It'll be hosted by Ryan and myself, and we're excited about that. We're going to literally on air here, we're going to draw out the entire tournament, which we are also producing and broadcasting here on Monday, October the 13th through the 21st. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, very excited. It'll be a ton of fun, and I can't wait to draw these teams out and be like, well, I don't even know the teams in exactly. So, but I put a piece of paper, and just be like,
It's not like the lottery. You got to reach in or the Powerball. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Powerball.
be like
Yeah.
David
It's not like
Stern
that
and
type of
everything,
thing.
Adam Silver. No,
That's what you got to
I
get
just wanna
going, JT.
go
You
up
got to
there,
create. You got to make it like the Powerball.
go up there, be so monotone, and just open up an envelope and be like, this team, this team.
Here.
Well. Hey, I mean, anything is possible. And we're obviously excited about that. So that's coming up here in just a week or so from Friday. So we're, again, excited about it. A lot of great games coming up here today on the network. We've got Rochester Christian men's side, again, hosting here at 2 p.m. on the network. So that's we're excited about that. I think our very own Gabe is on that call as well.
I don't even know Gabe, but
I will
congrats.
say this much. So the Rochester Christian indoor facility has been a challenge for us, unlike it has been in the past. I mean, we've been fairly successful with getting a good signal out of their aluminum shell there in Washington Township. But for some reason, of late, it's been difficult. And so we're hoping that we can get a clean broadcast off here this morning, this afternoon. I apologize. But that game kicks off, I believe, at 2 p.m. here Eastern this afternoon. Hey, we're going to do this. We got a great guest. Shawn, first off, we're going to talk about this as soon as he hops in because I know Ryan, as our producer, was extremely excited about the fact that when he got in early and we had the audio checks. And so that made Ryan's morning. It might have made his entire month.
Yeah, that's damn near close. I mean, Shawn, I know you're backstage, quote unquote, but you get this. Congrats, Shawn. Congrats. I love you so much now because we don't have to do this on air. So appreciate it, Sean. Appreciate it.
And that's a lot coming from someone who graduated from Central Michigan.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
All kidding aside. Hey, don't go anywhere. We'll be joined by Shawn Burke, the winningest head coach in the program history at Buffalo. Be back right now after this on episode number 165. Welcome back here into Inside the Game. That's Nate Wengler. I'm Jonathan Turner, Ryan Glinsky, our producer. And in a moment, we'll be joined here by head coach of the Buffalo Bulls and Shawn Burke. Under his leadership, he has collected 53 All-MAC selections. He's in his 12th season. And just the first game of the season, he became the winningest head coach in the history of the program with over 113 career wins. Again, his overall record going into this season, well, at that point was 113, 57, and 38. He has been named MAC Coach of the Year twice, and we are now officially joined here by Shawn Burke, the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. And we appreciate you stopping on by here this morning Inside the Game.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Well, we appreciate you stopping on by. We've had a chance to really talk with a number of really great coaches here across the country here over the last couple of weeks, and we continue here today with you. One of the first questions I have for you is, we talk about this a lot, consistency. It is very difficult to maintain, especially in today's climate, a consistently strong program that on the field produces wins and has a chance to fight for a championship. So what has been your recipe there in Buffalo?
I think we still recruit the very traditional way. With this year we have 9 freshmen. We got 8 freshmen coming in next year, and we try to use the transfer portal for 1, maybe 2 players that can come in and step in immediately. We're not really looking to add depth through the portal. It's very much a reality of college athletics now. So we obviously there's very talented players, and I mean, listen, we have a 25-year-old center back right now who's a grad student from St. John's. And, I mean, just her age, her maturity, her skill level, I think she's brought our program to a different level. So that's how we try to, utilize the transfer portal. But ultimately, I think you get the consistency because you get players in your program. They understand the system. They understand you. And you can still build a team in the very traditional sense.
No, and that, I mean, that obviously is something that we talk a lot about, especially in today's climate, again, the dynamics at work when it comes to the transfer portal and recruitment and things like that. And ultimately, when you say the other part of this too is coaches staying at a program for a long period of time, right? Traditionally in the mid-major world, coaches are using that as a stepping stone to go someplace else. Right, we see that all the time. Right, we see Division II coaches who are at a program, they're there for 3 or 4 years, have that success, and use that as a way to get them to the next level, which would be maybe your Power 5 schools, right, or even in the MAC for that matter. you've decided you've been there for 12 years. You're in your 13th season. Talk about that for a moment, because I'd imagine there's been moments probably where you've been like, hey, I can maybe take a chance and go someplace else.
Yeah, listen, you're exactly right. It's the nature of this business. It's the business side of it, right? I can tell you this. I was the assistant for 5 years here before I was lucky and fortunate enough to take over. But it's a family here, and I know that sounds very coach talk, but they took a chance on me back in 2014. We didn't have all that much success, and I was on staff, a part of that, and they was willing to give me a chance, and I think I owe a ton of a debt and gratitude to this program, but also the support, right? And I think we're not done growing as a program, and what we've been able to do these last 11 seasons has never been done in this program before, and we continue to rewrite the record books with individual accolades and team success. And I still believe that this program can do more. And that's what excites me, and that's what energizes me. But living in Buffalo, raising my family here in Buffalo, I can't imagine any place better than this right now.
I think one of the key words you mentioned in there was family. And I think when you feel that, you see the results on the field. We just got done talking about, before we came on air, my experience in minor league baseball. Our team just won a championship, one of the best in minor league baseball in the last 30 years. But there was this feeling throughout the course of the season, and it never really wavered, this feeling of family. And we know that culture obviously can drive results, and it has driven results for you at Buffalo. And I find it interesting because I look back at your journey, and I had mentioned it earlier talking about the GLIAC, and I didn't even stop to think about, we were reading up on you a little bit. You were at Mercyhurst for a while, and so you were in the GLIAC for a good stretch of time, and you had great years there. You talk about the family aspect with Buffalo, and obviously, as JT mentioned, you're always looking for opportunities to move up. You're always looking for another great opportunity, but it has to be the right fit, especially if you're a coach, especially if you're going to be the face of that program. That makes things completely different. Was it the family aspect that attracted you to Buffalo? What was it that attracted you to Buffalo, New York?
Originally, it was personal life that brought me to this area. This is something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to coach. I lived actually in Central Michigan for a few years, and was able to get my coaching license, and and really just that's where I learned right out of college. Like this is what I want to do as a profession. My background's in education, and the more that I learned, the more education I was getting. I really wanted to get to the college level, and I think my first opportunity was here in Buffalo at Canisius on the men's side as a part-time, but I kind of looked at it as my foot in the door, and again, just it was more like where I was personally in my life. I just kind of thought I was set up in Buffalo, and an opportunity came here to be an assistant on the women's side, and then kind of really never looked back. But again, you mentioned I went to Mercyhurst, very small private liberal arts college, where now I'm at a big state university, and I'm kind of getting the best of both worlds, where I think I got what I wanted out of my college experience, but I love the atmosphere of a big university, the support that athletics gets here, the community that rallies around it, and just how we're embedded. It's in our name. Yeah. We are embedded in the community of Buffalo. And it goes just farther than campus, and I love being a part of that.
And I actually have a kind of, it's not an off the wall question, but I am curious because we talk about transfer portal, right? And my only experience of having to use the transfer portal is from video games, playing like the college football video game. I've never actually had to go and convince someone, hey, come to my school before. It's not easy convincing people to come to Central Michigan, by the way. I don't know why that is, but I'm trying. I'm doing my best. But anyways, with Buffalo, when you're pitching some of these athletes, do you talk about the weather at all? Do you talk about the snow, or do you just keep that to the side? Don't even mention that.
So listen, I have no control of that because it's the first thing everybody thinks of, right? When you see Buffalo, it's typically right. It's Orchard Park and the Bills and dumped on snow. And listen, I'm from Cleveland. I went to school in Erie, Pennsylvania. I lived in Michigan, and I'm here in Buffalo. And it does matter where you live in this city. You know, we're North Towners, where this campus is. The snow is not any different, right?
All
We
right.
have a state-of-the-art indoor facility, so we're not having
There
to
you
play
go.
in it. Our entire campus is connected, so even though we're a big school, but once you get to the heart of campus, you actually don't have to go back outside. You can get to every building through walkways and that sort of thing. But the truth of it is yeah, it's going to snow here, right? Our falls are absolutely perfect. We don't have to play in the snow with the field house, and it allows us to play some
Right.
early spring games as well. But we also we got skiing close by. You know, downtown they have the ice rink and the ice bikes and curling. And you know, listen, we live in an area where snow is coming, and we embrace it full head on.
They all embrace it over there. I love it. I love it. The image of people shoveling snow out of the seats in Buffalo for playoff games or whatever it is. That's uniquely Buffalo, New York. It's my favorite part.
And the truth is, listen, a lot of our athletes, you know, we're big in Canada, right? So
Yeah.
most of the athletes that we're speaking to in their proximity to our campus, we're not what our winners are is nothing new to them.
Yeah.
You know, when you talk about again the dynamics at play in women's college soccer, and there's a lot, right? We've talked, and we had a conversation yesterday with another mid-major school, right? And we talked about specifically, you know, about a school being a destination school, right? There are players around this country that because of the way the transfer portal has been set up and the way recruiting is in 2025. They are going to be maybe going to a school in Division 2 or 3 because they know that might create a window for them to go one day to a Buffalo and then maybe one day to go to Michigan State, right? Or one day go to the next, right? Do you consider Buffalo a destination school for your student athletes to be a part of and be there for their full 4 years? Or do you also see that this is also a pathway for a player to go to the next level if they want to go there?
So my answer to that is, listen, I don't think there's not a lot of players that are probably growing up that dream about going to University of Buffalo, right? I think there's dominant programs in women's soccer that is probably dream schools for most of the athletes, right? But I think what's unique to us and what we've been able to build here over the last 10 plus years, right, is something that players want to be a part of. So the truth is, I don't see us as a stepping stone. Have players come here and try to move on? Yes, we're not immune to that like other programs. But I do believe in how we run this program and in our culture and what we believe in. And I do think players want to be a part of that. And I think that's why they come here originally, because, you know, we've had some really good success against some of the top programs in this country. And, you know, I mentioned it before, I don't think we're done. I think we can. It's just, I really truly believe in what we're doing here. And I think the players buy into that. And, you know, whether maybe I'm naive, but I genuinely believe players are in here for the long haul. And, you know, I look at us signing, you know, 6 players in the last 4 years to professional contracts. We absolutely want to help you play at the next level. And I think we're a program that can put together 4 years of tape that's going to help you keep playing soccer and keep playing at that high level. So, yeah, we want to develop players, absolutely. But I think players want to stick it out here. And I think players want to, you know, the type of athlete that we're speaking to now, I'd say over 80%, if not higher, have pro ambitions. And we've proven that we're a place that we can get you there.
Hey, Shawn, Ryan here. I typically only ask questions to MAC soccer coaches. It just is. Last time we had Lewis Robinson on a couple of weeks ago, I got absolutely roasted by him for being a Chippewa. But last year I got to cover Central Michigan soccer. For some reason, I did every single game except the game that you guys came to Mount Pleasant. Really weird. I don't know why I didn't get to do your guys' game. But my question for you is when I'm, you know, calling the MAC soccer games, especially when it's in conference, you guys kind of all play around the same time. Like, you guys always play Thursday and Sunday, but you guys kind of play at the same time slot, and you guys have to qualify for the MAC tournament, especially down the stretch. Does playing at the same time kind of relieve some of that pressure, as in compared to you need a vital 3 points, but you know the team ahead of you has already lost? Does that kind of adds maybe a little bit more pressure? But since you guys are playing at the same time almost every single time, does that get rid of that pressure? You guys can kind of just focus on yourselves.
Yeah, what's unique, especially to the game you're talking about, right? We all play at 3:00 on the final day of conference.
Yeah.
Right. And there was a lot. It was for us, we were playing for a top 2 seed, right, which is a bye. And then there was also, I think there was 4, it might even been more, battling for that final spot. So that last day absolutely mattered. Listen, I think it's as a coach, I just try to be as transparent and I don't try to do the coach talk. I'm honest, right? That certain games mean different things, right? You're playing in a championship game, you feel different, right? So we need to address that and talk about it. So we try to have that same mentality, because for us, we just needed a draw to secure that second spot and have the bye, which is really important for us. Especially we had one of our key players was trying to get back from injury, so the bye was going to be huge. But I've never approached the game. I don't want our players approaching the game like, oh, we just need a draw, right? Like you suit up to win, and I think we try to keep that mindset, and you try not to really focus on it as much as you can. This day and age with technology and how quick it is, like we know what's going on, even though we're like I think we had. For whatever reason, they got offset. There was maybe 10 minutes still to go in our game, 8 minutes to go, and I had knew a result that it didn't matter what happened in ours. We had secured that second spot, which obviously takes the pressure off. But I actually kind of welcome the pressure because, again, ultimately we want to be playing in that championship game every year and fighting to play in the NCAA tournament. So we need to be able to know, the magnitude of, we talked about pressure on our second MAC game. We had, we went in and had a stat sheet dominant performance against Eastern, and here we are 0-1 in the MAC. And we talked about the pressure of it, and the players acknowledged the pressure of expectation, right? Being picked second, and we're a program that's expected to compete for the championship every year. So I think any chance that we can meet that somewhere else in the regular season, I kind of welcome that. More so, I like the idea of playing around the same time just because it levels the playing field, and we're all kind of playing on the same base.
Talk about expectations. I think expectations are something that can either set you up for disappointment or it can set you up for something great, depending on how you take it. And I think when you put players in situations where there are high expectations, you can tend to get the most out of them because they don't want to be the class. They don't want to be the group that kind of teeters off or doesn't do what they're supposed to do. They want to keep the tradition, the winning tradition, alive. Do you find that those expectations are good things, that they continue to spur your athletes in the right direction?
Typically, yeah, I agree with that. In 11 seasons, right, there was 1 year we didn't qualify for the MAC tournament. It was right after we won the championship in 22. We had 11 player turnover from that group. And I think we only lost 4 games in 23, but it was the first time we never qualified for the MAC tournament, right? And obviously expectations are very high because coming off a championship, expected to win again. And we finished in a 3-way tie for 6. So top 6 qualify, we lost out on tiebreakers. And obviously you got to kind of stomach that. Again, athletes have to take ownership of being the first class and being part of that. Right. One, I after the fact, you can look at that, Meg. I love the fact that finishing in the middle of the pack isn't good enough here anymore, right? Yep. Once upon a time, just fighting to make the MAC tournament would have been good enough, and I love that the standard here has been raised. I can appreciate that, but the spring of the accountability that those players took that were a part of that 23 season, and especially our seniors that had won a championship as freshmen, or they would have won a championship as sophomores, came back as juniors with a disappointment that, again, we only dropped 2 games last year and played in the championship game. And I think that it's players responding to the pressure, the expectation, and resetting the standard. It was such a big thing for us last year. And I give the players all the credit for that.
We talk all the time about the game, and I think it's great that we get to have coaches on from different walks of life and from different universities, different parts of the country. We've talked to Wake Forest and North Carolina State University, right? We had a chance to talk yesterday with Milwaukee Panthers, right, in the Horizon League. We're talking with you today, obviously from Buffalo, and tomorrow we're talking with Ball State's head coach. And you're taking on Ball State tomorrow night at 6 p.m. in Buffalo. And obviously don't want to get into all that, but it's a cool thing that we actually get to have a chance to talk with the home coach and then the away coach tomorrow. We talk about the matchups, and we talk about like these games. This is a conference game tomorrow, right? You're playing a conference game, and right now these games matter more than what happened in the preseason, right? That's your way of getting ready for these games. In order for you to get to the top of the table, you have to go through a Ball State tomorrow at home, especially at home, where you guys have been very dominant. Talk about what you have to do or what you're trying to do at home this season to beat a team just like Ball State here tomorrow night.
Yeah, this conference, there's quite a few coaches that have been around a while. So you start to, we obviously all have habits, and you start to get an idea of what to expect. But then you also have this where we've got a new coach coming in. I'm not all that familiar with him, but obviously he's done extremely well in this profession, and I think everywhere he's gone, he's had success, and I have no doubt he's going to do the same thing here at Ball State. I think for us, we look at watching the tape of them. They have arguably one of the most dynamic individuals in this conference, and every time I watch them play and I see her on the ball, I'll be honest, that makes me nervous. So, anytime you have a special player like that, your team's always going to have a chance. I think they're going to be very well organized. And again, it's just, I love the challenges. Again, we love playing here at home. I think part of it, I think people hate coming to Buffalo, whatever it is, we embrace it. We take it on. But yeah, new coaches come in and especially from his background and his experience, I think it's going to be a very tough matchup, like every game is. It doesn't matter if you're playing the team that finished 12th the year before. This conference, there's that margin from 1st to 12th or 13 now with UMass is very, very fine.
I have to ask this question because obviously last year in league play you were 5-1-5. How much do you hate ties?
So not too long ago, right? We as a coaching, we pretty unanimously got rid of overtime. Right, which again, try to line up, and more of it was like you're playing 2 games on a weekend. If both games go to overtime, are we really putting our players in the best environment? And since that rule has come into place, I think we have double-digit ties in 2 seasons. And part of me is like, do I regret that decision being part of the vote to push that in the way that we did? Because I hate them. To answer your question flat out, I hate them. It's frustrating. It's the game that we play, right, at every level. It's a massive part of it. But and for whatever reason, it just seems we seem to be doing a little bit more these last couple of years.
I was going to say, even going back to 2023, right, when the year you said you missed the tournament for the first time, right, was back in 23. You had 6 ties that season.
So I think we had 13 ties in the last 2 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That gets old quick.
All right. So I know you have one more question.
Go ahead.
I can get to that one.
Go
I'll
ahead.
have in mind.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask this one really quickly. You mentioned how well you guys have done at home. That was something that I certainly saw 69, 15, and 14 coming into the year at home. You've kind of created this atmosphere where for opposing teams, I wouldn't want to go on the road and face you guys. You have this, you have this reputation now of at least inside of your own confines, you've done extremely good. How much fun is it that you've kind of established this place that it's really hard to go on the road and face Buffalo? Because you guys have won a lot there.
Yeah, listen, take a lot of pride in that. We play in a 20,000 seat football stadium, right? So with a track around it, and you can sit here and talk about all the things that are not the purest soccer form of playing in a football stadium and the lines that go on. But we look at it a different way, right? We play our Thursday games at night under the lights, right? We get a good crowd because we do a 6:00 kickoff. So you get the youth teams coming out with their parents. We just opened up our brand new video board that plays. So we do an international walkout that our media department put together an unreal hype up video. We have the youth players, the mascots walking out with the team. The game is playing on our video board. You score a goal, go watch yourself, watch the instant replay on there. We got a lot of really cool bells and whistles because we play in a football stadium. So we take full advantage of that. And then again, obviously until UMass joined this year, we were also the easternmost school in our conference.
Yep.
And again, some of the travel for some of those schools isn't ideal. So we while we want to be gracious hosts, maybe not so much on the field,
Right. Understandably so.
Nothing wrong with that at all. We ask this of coaches a lot, and before I get to our toughest question of the morning, if you had to describe this team, your current team, which is right now overall is 5-2-1, you're 1-1 in the conference. If you could define this team in a few words, what would it be?
This is the most talented team we've had top to bottom. But with that comes, not issues, but you're trying to build chemistry and trying to just get that cohesiveness as a group. Because we have really good players that are still kind of the outside looking in right now. So you're just and 9 freshmen plus a transfer, that's 10 new faces. I think honestly, as a coach, I wish we were a little bit farther along that at this point of the season in the conference, and I think it's just taken us a little bit longer to find that. But coming off the back of Sunday game, which was probably arguably our most complete performance, we're a talented group that is once this group really comes together as a team, I'm excited and think we can compete with anybody.
You had mentioned, obviously, Cleveland is where you were born and raised, and spent most of your life, it seems like, here in the Midwest or East Coast, right? With obviously in Buffalo, Northeast.
Great Lakes. Always
right?
Living around the Great Lakes.
Right.
Yeah.
So aside from the snow and the unpredictability of the weather in the Great Lakes region, there's a lot of great places for food, to go grab food. And so typically we ask coaches, like, hey, where's that place in town when you get off the bus? But since you've been to a good chunk of the Midwest and the Great Lakes region, is there a restaurant? Is there a place that when you're in that town here in the Midwest, Great Lakes area, that you have to go to? You've got to go grab a bite to eat, and what would it be?
I love anytime I'm back in Cleveland, going to Barrio. Good Mexican taco place. I remember we were in town we went back there a few years ago, my wife and I, for a wedding, and we went twice. We went to brunch before the wedding, and then in between the wedding and reception, I think we went with friends to get a little more food and some cocktails before the reception. But I would say that's probably like our go-to place in downtown Cleveland. Love getting us some Barrio every time we're in town.
It looks like they have a menu that you can like cross off like your order on. Is that right?
Yeah. So unfortunately, the older I get here, I have more dietary restrictions. So anytime I have a lot more say in what I order, I tend to notice I like those places more. So I think that's probably one of the intriguing things about that. And my wife will kill me for saying this, but she's a big fan of the margaritas. So can't go wrong there.
You can't. Hey, same here. I'm all for it.
Shawn, we too love the Mexican food as well, and I can't have margaritas either. So, but what I was going to say is this: we want to say thank you for stopping by here on this Wednesday morning. Again, great success, the winningest head coach in program history at Buffalo and the Bulls. We appreciate you stopping by. You guys take on Ball State tomorrow night at 6 p.m. out at your home stadium, and we wish you and your team much success here the rest of the way.
Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. Appreciate you
as well.
Yes, sir.
And again, much success the rest of the way, and we look forward to maybe having you back on here in the future as well.
Look forward to it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Shawn. Coming up here on the other side of this break, we will dive into the week 5 of the college rankings here according to United Soccer Coaches, so don't go anywhere. Be back here with 165.
Experience the thrill that came like never before with NSN's Game Rewind. Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics, letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail. Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play, NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate. Call 586-304-4405 and start watching today.
Welcome back here to Inside the Game. Jonathan Turner, Nate Wangler, Ryan Glinsky.
Don't sound too excited.
What do you say?
Welcome back to Inside the Game.
Was I muted?
No, you weren't muted. You
No,
were very
I'm
monotone.
just
You're like,
messing-
like you hated to be
You
here.
just sound tired, my man. You sound like you need a nap. You sound like you need a little shut eye for a little bit.
Oh no, I don't. Mean to be but here it's funny.
No, you're
right?
good.
So well, not a lot goes on. Usually we're kind of just sitting here, kind of in our own little, just getting ready for during commercial breaks. To be fair, I have no way of knowing what's going on with Nate. Only Ryan would know what's going on with Nate. Sometimes his camera gets
He goes
turned
into
off.
COVID mode.
He goes to COVID mode, whatever. But Ryan over here, he's been under the weather here for like the last week and a half, and this guy's over there in our little station getting some drink or whatever. And
I just have obsessive compulsive disorder. I never like where my camera is. It's either too high or too low or too wide, and so I'm like messing around with it and stuff. And you guys are like, "Where'd he go?" I don't. Just doing his own thing, just meandering.
So Ryan's over there. My wife Bianca's here in studio too, and so he walks over there. He's like sneezing and he's blowing his nose, whatever. And I can barely hear anything, but all I hear is we're all dying. We might not even make it to the NISA Pro Cup. We're all dying over here.
What we said was, I said morning to Bianca, and she's like, "Man, we're really going through it." I go, "Yeah, this NISA tournament's not going to happen because we're all going to be dead." That's what I said.
Yeah. That's where after a baseball season, my immune system shuts down too. So I'm looking forward to being half dead whenever that happens. So we're all going through this together, guys. One big group.
All I knew is I could not. Monday was the worst. Monday, I'm like, and then Nate wasn't here, so I had to ask a couple questions. But I'm like slowly dying back here. But luckily, we stopped the show like 2 minutes before we ended. I'm like, we can't miss because we have all these guests on. I can't miss the show, and we're getting through it. We're getting through it. I sound super, but I feel better. It's just my nose that is really, really bad. But no, we're getting through it. We're getting through it.
We are absolutely getting through it. It was announced yesterday that the new rankings come out every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Central. These rankings come out from the United Soccer coaches for both the men's and women's side. And so we're going to take a look here at the top 25. We'll start with the men's side here this morning. And again, North Carolina State has officially taken over that number one spot. Last week, it was Wake Forest. And we even talked about how Wake Forest, we just had on the head coach from Wake Forest just a few days prior to that announcement. So really, really cool that we had a chance to do that. But North Carolina State, we've also had a chance to talk with North Carolina's head coach as well here on the show in the last few weeks. If you want to watch any of those interviews, by the way, you can go to our YouTube channel or on demand here on Roku and watch those interviews. But again, NC State, atop at number one. University of Portland has made their way into the top five, now at number two, Indiana University. Now, this is where it gets really important. Michigan State was not ranked, has not been ranked. I don't believe if they were ranked in the first week or so of the rankings. They might have been in the top 25, somewhere at the bottom there. But they beat Indiana last night.
Sorry, Nate.
Yeah. So Michigan State beat Indiana by a score
They
of
were
1-0 last night out at DeMartin Stadium in East Lansing. So they did, but then look at the University of Michigan have made their way. Remember, Michigan and Michigan State have both beaten Indiana this season, but Indiana's still there in the top five. Stanford, University of Vermont is at number 7. St. Louis University at 8. High Point University at 9. And West Virginia University, they're in the top 10. Things are moving here in week 5, and we expect a lot more movement to happen here in the coming weeks.
Damon Rensing said he had a good feeling about this group, man. When we were talking to him, I mean, he was kind of alluding to that. He said this is one of the best groups I've ever had, and they're showing it, and they showed it against Indiana. And what I love about it is you have a newcomer that ends up making the biggest difference probably in that game. Peter Soudan, I don't know how you pronounce it, Soudan. I hope that's right. And then obviously their goaltender, Zach Kelly, their senior, was playing on his head all night long. So they got a combination of star-studded goaltending and then some young guys making some contributions. And he wasn't kidding. I don't think that was just coach speak. He wasn't just talking his guys up because he's the head coach. I think he meant it. I think he's got a good group this year. So they played a great game. And we talk about the MAC being competitive. That's something I love about the Big Ten. And it really doesn't matter what sport it's in. Football, it could be anything else. I think the Big Ten is competitive top to bottom. And you're going to have teams that are going to be able to beat you on any given day. And right now they seem locked. They seem locked in. So that was a great win for them. I think MSU's got a lot more to show us before it's all said and done.
That they do. Biggest movers this week. San Diego made the largest leap. They jumped 12 spots from 23 to number 11. Virginia surged back into the poll at number 12 after being unranked last week. Wake Forest dropped from number 1 all the way to number 13 after its first loss of the season. West Virginia climbed from number 13 to crack the top 10 at number 10. Who's in? Connecticut, Maryland, Bucknell, and George Mason. Who's out? Well, there were 4 teams that dropped out of the top 25 from last week. Let's take a look here now at the women's side and what's going on there. Virginia is ranked number 1 here once again. Notre Dame at number 2, Stanford number 3, UCLA number 4, Tennessee at 5, Florida State at 6, Arkansas at 7, Iowa at 8, Duke at 9, and TCU has made their way into the top 10 at number 10.
Wait, how many of those top 10 teams are ACC? Hold on, I'm counting. I'm doing some counting here. Really quick. So we got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the top 11. So you got North Carolina just outside of the top 10 in terms of our top 25. My God. Like, can we'll just let the ACC play for it all, and then everybody else, we can just remove the rest of the pack. Like, that's ridiculous to me. Like, we talked about it with our preview, just how good the ACC is. And yeah, I mean, it is, and it continues to be. And Virginia has been on an absolute roll. But then you look at the rest of those ACC squads that fill out the rest of those standings. That's crazy. TCU not being as high is a little bit of a surprise to me. Obviously they're not in the ACC, but to you and I, we were talking about Seven Castaigne and how big of a difference maker she is. Just on the ball is just a creator. She's an improviser. She's someone that can make plays literally out of nothing, out of thin air. And we saw that in the USLW and the way that she was able to play for Utah United. Little surprised that they haven't done as well to begin the season, but I mean, still 7-1-0 and 3-0 and on the road. I mean, they've been playing good ball, but we'll see if they can emerge, if they can climb the ranks. But yeah, the ACC doing ACC things here in 2025, at least on the women's side.
I do want to add something that I've noticed, with the rankings here is only 3 teams in the top 25 are like group of 4 teams, or group of 5 teams, I should say. Rice, I believe Xavier's not in any of the Power 4, and then there's a third, Georgetown. I believe Xavier, Georgetown are probably like in the Big East or something like that. And then you look over to the men's side, and there's a lot of schools in the group of 5 outside of that Power 4. It's something that I found a little bit interesting, whether you guys find it interesting or not. But, looking at the top 25, there's a ton of Power 4 schools that are constantly dominated. You mentioned the ACC dominating the women's side, but it's a lot of just Power 4 schools. You look to the men's side, there's a little bit difference with, different group of 5 teams in there compared to it just strictly being Power 4 schools.
Right. Yeah. So...
I think that I think that again, we talk about it all the time. The men's side of the game in its own right very dynamic, but on the women's side, things can change very rapidly. I mean, the difference between the best teams and the worst teams is we're talking about it's very minimal. We just talked to obviously with Shawn Burke about this, and they used to have overtime in their thing, and now they don't. Now he has all these ties, and literally you're looking at 1 or 2 points separating like 7 teams in their conference, and so it becomes very challenging. One win, one tie.
And then you get into tiebreakers too. You get into all that science.
It gets to be fair, it can be quite nuts,
daunting
to how this can go, and daunting as you had mentioned. But let's talk about Notre Dame here. Notre Dame moved up from number 6 to number 2, and again putting pressure on Virginia at the top. TCU soared 4 places from 14 to 10. South Carolina rose 3 spots from to number 12. Georgia surged from number 21 to 17. Penn State tumbled from number 8 to number 18 after back-to-back setbacks, and Duke slipped from number 3 to number 9. Who's in? Wisconsin made their way in. And
Jump
Alabama made their way in as well. Mississippi State did bounce out of the top 25 after being previously ranked number 12. So there are the top 25 programs for both men's and women's. And like every Wednesday, we will continue to share those rankings. You can also check those out at the nationalsoccernetwork.com, where we have complete stories and all the changes that went from week to week available on our platform. We're going to take one last break. We come back here. We're going to dive into some Christian Pulisic news here as he continues to soar overall over there in Serie A. We'll get to that here and more on the other side of the break.
Are you ready to create unforgettable moments for your audience? NSN offers professional live streaming and full broadcast services tailored to your needs. From high-quality production to exceptional coverage, we ensure your game or event becomes a spectacle to remember. Book your next game with us today. Call 586-304-4405 to schedule your broadcast and let NSN bring the action to life like never before.
Welcome back here to Inside the Game. We're excited to have you here on this Wednesday morning.
Nice. There we go.
Show some energy.
Welcome back in. Hell yeah. Woo. That's terrible. Yeah, thank you. All right.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. We are live
It's
right
actually our
now
horn
on
to continue.
Roku and YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. So if you're watching, you can watch anywhere, it seems like these days. So, but we're excited to have you watching here on this Wednesday morning. Christian Pulisic in Serie A is off to a fantastic start. And Ryan Glinsky, I know how passionate you are about this. Let's get into it this morning about Pulisic and what he's done here in the first few weeks of the season that very few have done before him.
Yeah, I was put on the spot here. Let me find my bookmarks on Twitter because there's some impressive stats about him. So 2 stats I want to go into for Pulisic. 5 goals in 6 games in Serie A. He's averaging a goal every 57 minutes. And then this other stat that I have for him, since the beginning of 2023, the beginning of the 2023-2024 season, only one player has been directly involved in more goal contributions in Serie A, and that is Lautaro Martinez with 59 goal involvements. Christian Pulisic is second with 58, 37 goals, 21 assists. That's second among Serie A players. And then Pulisic, my last stat here, Pulisic is actually since his arrival at AC Milan, Pulisic is the only Serie A player to have reached this milestone, 35 goals and 20 assists in all competitions. It's safe to say the kid is cooking. Christian Pulisic is cooking Serie A right now. Give the kid some flowers at this current moment.
Well, if you're cooking, you don't give him flowers. You maybe,
Oh, yeah, I guess,
maybe you put it on a plate or something. I don't know. But, maybe put some water. Maybe put some water. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think it's great.
He's-
And as I said this during our first break here this morning, before we even got into the show, me and Ryan were talking about this. I think it's great what he's doing. I'm hoping it translates into more success for the U.S. men's national team. But if I'm being selfish for a moment, which I think we have to be selfish when it comes to this, the World Cup is going to be here in less than a year. And as great as Pulisic is being over in Serie A, and hopefully it translates, it needs to translate. And so I'm hopeful. It's one of those things where it's almost like, something warming up and you're like watching all these great, fantastic shots go in. You're like, man, save it for the game a little bit. Not trying to say that you don't, want to give it your all in training. But sometimes oftentimes as fans will see a player warming up, or even as a coach, maybe you should save that save a little bit of that for the game. Like maybe he needs to make sure he's saving some of that for the World Cup, because I'm fearful that all this success is great, But will it translate here in the World Cup? And I even heard Alexi Lalas talking about this yesterday. About Christian Pulisic, about being the GOAT, about being this Mount Rushmore player that he could be. And there's obviously a debate about him being in there. He has obviously what he's doing across the pond and what he has done so far for the U.S. men's national team has definitely put him in the conversation as being one of the best players to ever suit up for the U.S. men's national team. But what he does this summer will absolutely determine that and put it in stone. And whether it is he becomes that player or he falls short. And I'm just fearful that all of this he's doing there just doesn't translate over here. And that's my biggest concern. But I think it's great for Pulisic. I think it's great for soccer. I think it's great for the U.S. men's national team in theory, if it in fact translates.
I think we have to differentiate between two things. The best U.S. men's national team player of all time. I don't know if you can necessarily say that quite yet. The most talented American player of all time. I think you can certainly say that now, conclusively, and not really blank. Christian Pulisic is the most talented soccer player that's ever been born in the United States.
Agreed.
And I can say that confidently. Now, let's talk about Serie A for a second, because Christian Pulisic isn't just a great player for that club. He's quietly become the face of AC Milan. And I know that we maybe have questioned his loyalty to the U.S. men's national team in the past, and for good reasons. I do think there are good reasons. But the one thing you can't question is his loyalty to the sport. You got to think about, this is someone who we crowned as the LeBron James of soccer. This is someone that we've hailed this guy as number one since the beginning. And he had to look inside, be willing to take a pay cut. I mean, he was sitting on the bench at Chelsea, probably making some good coin, but he had to be willing to kind of step aside and put his ego aside to take less money to go out and dominate with Serie A. So he has very quietly not only become the face of that club, but he's done it, because he wanted to play. And I get it. I understand it. But to your point, the fact that he's playing the way that he is right now shows me that he's playing in his top form in a time where we need him to be playing in his top form. Now, again, does that translate? That's the biggest question, right? And that's why I hate the fact that we have to wait so long for the next international window to see them play again, because we're not going to get that question. Now, he played great against Japan, but that's just one game. Again, we can't just hang our hats on one game. But the fact that he, again, is rolling the way that he is right now, and not just him, by the way, Chris Richards, Malik Tillman, they're both playing at the top of their game. They've both had outstanding stretches. Tim Weah has been looking really good. There's a lot to love about him turning it on the way that he is in the moment that he is. It couldn't have come at a better time. It could not have come at a better time.
I also want to talk about this as well, as Pulisic is the leading goal scorer for AC Milan right now. Luka Modric is the second goal scorer on that team. But I think if you look back at the different playing styles, it feels like at AC Milan he's given more freedom. Pulisic's, I think, able to play a little bit more freely. There's more confidence in Pulisic's game. And we've talked about Pulisic. There's a ton of pressure when it comes to the U.S. men's national team. And I think in a way that there's different playing styles when it comes to the AC Milan and the U.S. men's national team. I don't think he's given quite that same freedom that he is for AC Milan. I think pressure does get to him a little bit when it comes to the national team. I don't know if that is simply just a mentality thing. I don't know if that's the way that the USA is set up. But when I'm watching, AC Milan games and watching U.S. men's national team games, it doesn't seem like Pulisic is given the same exact freedom that he is over in Italy. I absolutely love what Pulisic is doing. I think this is giving. We talked about all in sports, if getting hot at the right time, especially when it comes to American sports, whether that's March Madness, whether that's the MLB playoffs, whether that's any type of NFL, NBA, NHL, anything like that, of getting hot at the right time. Excuse me. But if Pulisic and Chris Richards and Tim Weah, Malik Tillman, if they are able to get hot at the right time towards the end of the season, going into that national team, kind of tune-up games, and then into the World Cup, I'm completely fine with that. But he's obviously not going to keep up this pace. There's no way he does that. Unless the only player that can do this is Lionel Messi. That's the only player that can do that. But if I absolutely going to take some stock into this, because this is going to build up his confidence, but I do want to see this translate to the men's national team. I also want to see this playing style translate to the men's national team as well.
Well, you'd alluded to the fact that he has some more freedom, right? And he has, I think, the carte blanche, right, to do kind of some of the things that make him who he is. And I think that he's being somewhat restricted right now in his role in the U.S. men's national team, right?
100%.
When you put him out in positions that maybe he's not. I'm not saying you can't put him out wide. I'm saying that for us, he is not an out wide player unless you have another player that can provide him with the distribution that he would need to be successful. So, but again, I think it's great. I think anytime our players who are domestic foreign players who are going to play for the U.S. men's national team are doing well across or in any league that they're participating in, that they're in helps us become a stronger overall nation when it comes to playing soccer. So it's all great for us. It's just, again, I want to see it translate into wins and into playing better for the national team. Question of the day.
Yeah, let's get into question of the day. But before we do, Salt Athletic, an official sponsor of us here at the National Soccer Network. Use promo code NSN15 to save 15% off. Visit saltathletic.com or scan that QR code. You guys have kind of hinted at my question of the day, but here it is. Do you take anything out of the U.S. men's national team's men's national team players killing it over in Europe?
Yeah, I do. I mean, we want them to have success. Success breeds success. And so if you're over there, you're not playing, and you're not having success, what's going to end up happening? It's going to weigh on you, right? It's going to create potential pitfalls in the way you play. Again, the psychological component of playing at a high level is very much the same as if you were injured, right, physically. And so having success will breed more success, and it builds confidence. And that's what this country needs more of, not less of it, when it comes to playing in the international environment. So my philosophy is, yes, this is great for the U.S. men's national team. It's great for soccer in this country. I will continue to say this. It just needs to translate this summer. And if it can do that, then we're all sitting here in a much better position. And I imagine they're going to go a little further than what we even expect.
Yeah, I mean, I'm newer to this sport. I'm newer to covering this sport, at least as much as I do on a daily basis, and talking to you guys. Like, we all know this. I've said that before, but I imagine if I talk to someone who's been around the sport of soccer for the last 3 decades, that if I were to ask them 30 years ago, would you imagine that we would have a crop of players who are playing, not only playing in the top leagues across the world, but contributing and being one of the best in their positions across the world? They'd probably say you're crazy. I mean, there was a time where when we started sending players over there, it's like, oh, okay, here we go. Like, we're breaking in. But now we have pieces, and they're contributing, and they're hitting the ground running, and they're playing at the top of their game, again, in the most important year to do it. Now, how does that look when they all come together? And I still don't think we've seen the best combination of players on the field for this U.S. men's national team. I think that's the most important part of all of this. I don't think we've seen the best combo. You still have Jedi who's out. He still has to come back, and
He is.
There's
about
other
to make his
examples.
return, by the way.
He is about? Okay. All right. Well, hopefully it's, knees are interesting, man. So I just hope he's able to go. But
what are interesting about knees?
Knee injuries are just.
That's a dad joke. I know. It was
bad. My take on this is I absolutely take some stock into it for a couple of reasons. One, I watch a ton of European soccer, so it's great to see Americans, killing it over there. And two, I think it's a respect thing. I really do. And I remember hearing from documentaries of, European basketball players coming over to the NBA back in the 90s, and they're like, you guys are coming over here to play basketball? Like, this is our sport. Like, what are you guys doing? Tony Kukoc was the example to be exact in the Last Dance documentary. But I think if we are sending Americans over, and Chris Richards is slowly becoming one of the best defenders in the Premier League, Anthony Robinson statistically was the best left back in the Premier League. Whether you want to agree with that or not, that's up to you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying numbers-wise, he's statistically the best. And according to numbers, Christian Pulisic is one of the best attackers, if not the best attacker in Serie A. If we are sending Americans over there and they are killing it in these European leagues that we're not supposed to be dominating in, I'm absolutely going to take some stock into it because I think it's a respect thing, but 2, it's going to make our soccer nation as a whole better.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you build slowly. You build slowly to the goal. You add one and then you add another one. We're matriculating into the circles that we need to be, and we're seeing them again. Not just good players, not just role players, but dominating in their certain positions. That's very exciting. Now I just need to see them play again. I got to wait for it, and it sucks.
Well, we'll not have to wait that long. It's going to be coming up here in October. We'll obviously have a lot of coverage of those friendlies coming up here again in October. That'll wrap up here number 165 here on this Wednesday morning. Had a great guest in Shawn Burke. That'll be available as his own video here later this morning on our YouTube channel as well as on Roku TV. But it was another great show. Got another great guest here tomorrow. We talked about it, alluded to it here during the broadcast here today. But Andy Stoops will join us here tomorrow, the new head coach at Ball State University, another MAC team that will also be playing Buffalo tomorrow night in Buffalo. So we're excited about that. We have another guest coming up here on Friday as well, and we'll go ahead and put that guest list up on your screen. I'm assuming we still have it in our... Boom, we'll put it on the screen there. It is Andy Stoots right there, Ball State women's head soccer coach. And then we have Gareth Elliott joining us live here, the University of Rhode Island's men's soccer coach here on Friday. But again, that wraps up our show here this Wednesday morning. Appreciate you stopping on by and being a part of this. Don't forget to subscribe, like us, share this with your friends and family. That's Nathan Wangler, Ryan Glinsky, our producer. I'm Jonathan Turner. Come back here tomorrow morning, same time, same place, right here on Inside the Game. From the biggest matches to the hottest takes, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wangler bring you the stories, the analysis, and the edge you won't get anywhere else. Streaming live weekdays at 9 a.m. on YouTube, Roku TV, Facebook, Twitter, and all major platforms. No filters, no fluff, just real talk, real soccer. This is Inside the Game.